in-depth race recaps.
He's shown speed, he's shown dominance at other racetracks.
Pit stops and strategy.
Hell yeah, boys. Let's go. Race strategy, man.
Fantasy racing insights.
Talking about being a team in the summer. We did it. Good job, boys.
Your weekly home for everything Ryan Blaney and Team 12.
Good job, Timmy. Here's the many more, fellas. Thank you.
This is the Team Blaney podcast.
Let's go race for a championship.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 201 of the Team Blaney podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This week, we're here to break down Ryan Blaney's run in the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona International Speedway. Steve, welcome back to another episode of the show. And again, it's one of my favorite episodes of the year to do. Great years, we get to do it multiple times. This year, I missed the first one. I'm here for the second one. It's a victory recap episode because Ryan Blaney, Team 12, dramatically picked up the win this past weekend at Daytona International Speedway. His second win in the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Was happy to be at the track live. Great weather, great night of racing. And I'm glad I had a couple of days to recuperate because Tara can tell you that I went totally ballistic at the finish, lost my voice, met up with a lot of great Blaney fans after the race.
Oh, awesome.
Shout out to Hannah, our friend too, that found us after the race as well, and some others that are now subscribers to our YouTube channel that I met and passed out some stickers to. So yeah, exciting weekend, kind of out of nowhere win, but super strong car. And that's only just based on the way strategies played out that it was out of nowhere. But I'm so excited to get through this recap. And Steve, we also have a thing to tease. We have a special guest that's coming on later in the show that people are going to want to listen for. And who is that?
Yeah, just stay tuned. Do we really need to say?
You're going to keep them in suspense. Okay, yeah.
Stay tuned. We have an interview coming up in a little bit. Let's put it that
All
way.
right.
You know,
That
somebody
sounds
who was. How about this? Somebody who was integral in this weekend's win.
Absolutely. That
There you
works
go.
for me. So, again, great weekend of racing at Daytona. The Xfinity Series race was an interesting one as well, where Connor Zilic, like early in the week, said he's going to come back after collarbone surgery and he's going to race. It gets to race day, and then it's like he's going to come back, but our friend and TV personality Parker Kligerman's going to be the one that hops in the car. He does it, and in a very Parker Kligerman way, wins the race and still isn't credited for the victory, as he said on Racing Reference. But another feel-good story, and it seems like we get these like weird things that happen like this in NASCAR all the time. But what do you think about that one?
Another Garrett Smithley top 10.
That's your takeaway.
that and another W for Josh Williams at a super speedway.
That's true.
That's another thing to think about.
That's
But,
not
yeah,
surprising.
That was crazy. It was great. Parker Kligerman was a lot of fun to see him get that. Like I said, twice this year, he's crossed the finish line first at Daytona and not gotten the W for either of them. But Friday night set up Saturday pretty well.
So let's talk about Saturday. And to get to Saturday, we actually have to have a very extensive recap of practice and qualifying. Oh, wait, there's no practice for super speedways. So let's talk about qualifying. How'd qualifying go, Steve?
Adam, you did it, man. You pulled it off. Adam, as a lot of people know, Adam goes close to a racetrack at any point in time. The possibility of rain, lightning, thunder, natural disasters goes way up. And on Friday, Adam pulled off a little bit of his magic. Guys didn't actually go into the track, right? You were outside the track.
We were in the
close to
vicinity.
track.
Yeah, we were hitting up some of the driver appearances that were in and around Daytona. And somehow, I guess the magic still worked, even though we didn't step on property.
Yes, we got the lightning clock going, and the lightning clock going off, and then it waited another half hour, and lightning, and another lightning strike in there, and it resets itself. And the next thing you know, there's no time for qualifying. And it goes by the metric, and hey, guess who got a pole?
We'll take it.
We'll take it. So that set up the weekend really good because you know that not only was he on the pole, but the 22 and the 2 finished with him on last week in such a manner that they were going to be up near the front too. So That was going to help them to control at least the first part of the race, as far as we know. And pit stall 2, as my wife pointed out, pit stall 1 actually on pit lane is unused, or it might be where they put the NBC box or something like that. So it's technically pit stall 2, but it's the first pit stall at the end of pit road there for the day. The one car was pitting behind him, and this ends up being a little bit of an issue on Saturday. So 7 sets of tires, stages of 35, 95, and 160. And once again, that's a little bit different too, because they didn't have, usually they've got it where it's at least one pit stop in between on each stage. But this one here was going to lay out where that first stage didn't necessarily need a pit stop, didn't need a refueling. So everybody's going to race that stage accordingly. And we had the 24 to the rear for cheating. Or pushing the envelope. We call it cheating or pushing the envelope. I guess if we do it, it's pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah, this was an interesting thing too, because they're I think it was their second time through inspection, and I heard somebody describe it. I don't know how it was caught, but they talk about like other teams and everybody, like, they know what's going on in the garage, and somebody may have told on somebody, but they're messing with something with the splitter. And NASCAR definitely frowns upon that. Heck, I mean, we've seen Kyle Larson when I was at Talladega a couple of years ago. They're just pushing the car after tech, and they're messing with like the roof a little bit, and they got a very similar penalty. So in this case, Rudy Fugle gets sent packing back to the command center in North Carolina, and the 24 has to do a pass-through penalty. And it sounds like that's going to be the extent of things, according to Bob Pockris, that we might not get anything, during the Tuesday penalty report or something like that. But I know there's a lot of fans out there that enjoy to see Hendrick Motorsports go through things like this sometimes, or believe that it goes on even more than we know. I won't dive into those conspiracy theories, but that was interesting to see the regular season champ immediately kind of have to start off a lap down.
So Ryan, actually, I forgot about this part. Ryan gets to choose lane for the start of the race, and he chooses the outside because the 22 will be lined up behind him for the start. So this actually sets up really good here. By lap 5 here, it's single file the first 5 cars, the 12, the 22, the 11, the 6, the 99. And in a recap like this, we won't do like passes this and then passes that, because every lap there's passing back and forth, and they really only score the field once across the start finish. So I kind of went like every couple laps here. Lap 10, the 99 organized the low lane. Lap 11, we get this caution for the 66, and 24 gets his lap back, and Ryan for this takes the top for the restart. Joey follows him with the 99 inside. We restart lap 16, sorting to the top 3 single file. So it's 12, 22, and the 6 actually is the third car in line there. At lap 18, we get this caution for the 34 and the 45 right before pit road. The 34 kind of cut in front of the 45 there. I don't know exactly how that looked from where you were sitting. You actually was kind of right in front of you guys, right?
Yeah, and Tyler Reddick took a lot of blame for this, and his multiple post-race interviews said that he made a big mistake, or a big mistake was made right away, right out of the gate. So, and the thing is, though, he nosed into the wall, like straight on. And I've heard some drivers talk about like that being almost best case scenario, as long as you don't blow the radiator out of it. They said what's worse is if you kind of come in an angle or you hit like tire area, because that's breaking like toe links and suspension, and your day's done. So, but I think the 48 at that moment probably thought things were looking up, because the 45 and the 48 are the last 2 that could get in on points into the playoffs, and as long as there wasn't a new winner. So the 45 or the 48 was probably thought things were looking up at that moment, but obviously the race continues on, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so the 66 is a lucky dog at that point, but Ryan chooses the top for this next restart. The 22 is following here. The 6 is behind them on row 3 here, and the 23 is on the inside with the 99 behind him, which is pretty good that Bubba's worked his way to the front already. The 99, once again, he needs a win, so he's already up there. We're starting at lap 24 here, and the 99 goes ahead and pushes the 23 out in front of Ryan a little bit. And the 23 tries to do like the thing where he covers both lanes. At lap 25 here, the 99 and 23 swap the lead. And Ryan is P3 at this point, as those two were battling. At lap 27 here, Ryan goes to the low lane and gets back to P2 here. And then we get the 48, the 23, the 2, the 4, the 35, the 8, the 11, the 47, 71, 38, and the 22. In this melee where the 5 kind of pushed the 23 and crossed the nose of the 22, and they show these guys don't necessarily get to know exactly what happens, but they show them when they get out of the infield care center, and Bubba actually takes the blame on this. He says he put himself in a bad position and did a super speedway thing that you shouldn't do. So it ruined a bunch of days for a bunch of people, though.
Yeah, looking at it live, it was one of those where I thought it was like the 23 and the 22 moving up and down the track without really knowing, or sorry, the 23 and the 8 moving up and down in their lanes without really realizing the 22 was in the middle. But after watching kind of multiple replays while they were cleaning things up, you could kind of see it was more the 23 coming down across the nose of the 22, pushing the 22 into the 8. Destroying the 8's chances this second straight year where Kyle Busch does not make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So tough day for them. 2 straight crashes here that are caused by 2311 cars as well. So that's unfortunate. You mentioned Ryan shooting to the low lane and into P2 at the perfect moment. I don't know whether he would have gotten caught up in that or not, but his chances with cars flying back up the track were greater. So that was early on move of the race for the 12 team, was kind of getting out of that mess and letting everybody crash behind. And while there were a decent amount of guys that were basically out of the race at that point, there was still, I think, about 25 or 29 or something cars that were still ended up on the lead laps. I'm a little busted up here and there. So I've heard a lot of people saying like, oh, well, right out of the gate, half the field was gone. That's not true.
No.
There's still plenty of cars out there fighting for this.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So the red flag here, something interesting. I would love that somebody would ask him this in post race. Ryan asked for another set of gloves on the next pit stop. He says they were getting slippery. I'm wondering if it's just from sweating through them. I don't know. That's something I've never really ever heard them go through before. That was kind of interesting. So the 99 pits here, when they do go back to caution. And I find that interesting because it's kind of playing the long game, like more feeling it now, more feeling it now, later, so that later they don't have as long a pit stop. Tim and Ryan discussed the lane choice here, and they do choose the top, and the 5 is behind him, and the 71 now is below him with 22, and this always scares me because Captain Low Percentage. That's what I'm going to call him from now on, because that's just what he likes to do. We're restarting at lap 33 here, and the 71's battling hard on the inside. Lap 35, the 5 runs in the high lane and gets passed a little bit here. And ending the stage here, we finished third. So we were kind of controlling it, but things got messy. But you got to kind of play the big picture, and that's finish the race. But points wise, except for the 5, we got stage points where the 11 and the 20, I don't think got stage points at that point.
Yeah,
that was
9.
a big thing. Yeah, the 9 didn't get stage points either. So at that point, all of a sudden, we're gaining on that gap that we had coming into the weekend and gaining toward that second position. So they go ahead and pit here, and they're going on the jack here. So they're basically going on fuel. So they're trying to make sure they fuel up. So it's like about an 11-second stop. But it's interesting. Almost everybody is on the same type of thing. The 1 stays out here, and they come in P3 and out, I think 15th. So some of the cars stayed out. Some of them took a little less fuel. Like I said, not a panicky thing. It's not a thing where you're really, really worried, except you don't necessarily want to be in the pack. But for the choose here, the 51 is actually the leader. He takes the top because a couple cars come in to top off too. So restart lap 41 here, and we sort out the P14 here. And in the next lap, it gets 3 wide. At lap 45, we're 18th, middle of 3. I just don't like middle of 3, but what can you do? At lap 46 here, gets to the low lane behind the 22. And the next lane, lap or 2, it gets back to 2 wide here and into 29. So kind of like fell back, but now we're on this kind of like not pushing the throttle kind of thing, right? Your favorite type of racing at the super speedway, but that's the strategy now. The strategy is save fuel for the end of the stage. Save fuel so that when we do pit, we don't have to, And you even texted during this time period at one point about how like it looked like he was going to lose the pack. But the truth is nobody in the pack was running hard enough for him to lose. Like if he could have fell off that draft, he would have still caught that draft just by pressing the accelerator a little bit if he had to. So
yeah, and you could tell when Jonathan would give him the go ahead, especially in stage 3 there at the end when he got the go ahead. But this is like a different strategy than we've seen, and it's been specifically this year really on super speedways with this team, because all the way from 2022 to 24, they were still with that strategy of qualify up front, control the race, lead laps, try to save fuel from the lead by controlling the lanes with the teammates and everything. But in Daytona earlier this year, Talladega earlier this year, they've been doing this like we're going to save fuel and we're going to do it from the safety of the rear of the field, which is so weird to see with Ryan, but that's just kind of what they've employed, and I can't say it's wrong because they things have worked out pretty well. So it's just different is what I'll call it. And while we're doing this, you're seeing the 51. This actually starts the storyline of the underdogs for the day and how close it really was to having like somebody very deep in points advance into the playoffs, even in some cases further than what Harrison was last year when he made it in too. So, but yeah, seeing that Arby's car out front and being able to do what he was able to do was definitely interesting to see, nonetheless. So.
Yeah, like lap 54, the 10 took the lead. There's another example. Lap 55, Ryan goes around the 44. There's one or two guys you don't want to be behind more or less because they really are kind of slow. So he gets to 28 here, and then they're 3 wide mid-pack. And at lap 65, the 10 is trying to block out front all 3 lanes. It's kind of interesting to watch him. The 1 does take the lead with the 88 pushing. Now we've got the 88 kind of in the mix in the stage here. Lap 66, the 88 and the 1 are leading the 2 lanes. Ryan's still 28th at this point, but lap 68, Ryan goes the low lane for a moment just to kind of like see what's going to happen. Lap 70 here, Jonathan says, keep doing what you're doing. We'll tell you when you can do something different. So they really are like looking at throttle and how much they're on the throttle. At lap 72 here, the 71 takes the lead here. We're still P28, and we're behind the 78. And that's kind of interesting because the 78 was doing pretty decent and, just kind of running up behind him. At lap 74 here, the 1 goes to the lead, and it's 3 wide in the first 6 rows. So another thing, it's just kind of hairy and crazy up there, this point in the stage. Lap 75 here, the 22 takes the high lane to the lead. And it, from P28, it's not about 2 seconds back. So, not right up in the group, not real close, but just far enough away. At lap 77, the 51 car comes back to taking the lead here, and Ryan passes the 78, the 54, and the 26. It's the 54 to get to 26, doing it on the outside. Lap 79 here, Jonathan says, go ahead to push a little bit if you want. And we get all the way up to 18th with the 41 leading now. And at lap 80, a high lane, we're in the high lane up to 15th. So, and now at lap 82, caution for the 77 losing an engine here. And we're up to 14th. So we've moved a little bit up. Now we're going to be going, looking at a pit stop, probably the 51, the 71, the 10, the 16, all pitted earlier, and will stay out. So that was kind of interesting. They had just started a cycle more or less, and they had pitted, but not lots of lead lap, so they're going to stay out. And Jonathan says we're thinking about a number 7 here, and They do actually stay out at this point. So they're thinking they might be able to stretch this fuel mileage. The 24, the 9, the 5, and the 12 are actually out there in the front, and the 24 chooses the outside. Ryan chooses the low lane behind the 9, and the 5 goes to the outside here with the 10 pushing, and they're restarting there at lap 87. So Jonathan gives the okay to race to the end of the stage. So they'd saved enough fuel under the caution. They knew they were in good shape here. The top gets a run, so we're P7 here, and then the 5 is jamming the lane from the front, kind of holding things up a little bit. At lap 90, the 22 is actually the lead, and Ryan's in 9th. With the 19 coming around, he ends up taking the lead off of the 22. Then at lap 93, the 19 gets shucked, the 5 gets shucked. I'm going to use shucked because that's one of Tim's great words. These guys get to the front, they get pushed a little too hard, and they can't handle it or something, and they lose it, and they end up having to go backward. And lap 95 here, the 1 wins the stage, and Ryan gets to P6 in that little bit of a mess. So he moves forward. He gets more stage points here. Larson, 10th. So now he's gotten back the stage points he lost to Larson the first stage. The 9 car is P13. So now we're 2 stages in, and we've put ourselves basically right to the front, second place in the standings.
Yeah, that was really, really important during this night, was the fact that where Ryan was sitting, he could finish anywhere from 6th to 2nd in the point standings, the regular season standings. And that's a difference of, 4 or 5 bonus points that they hand out at the reset. So it was really crucial for them to do that. So like you mentioned in that first stage, obviously the 5 did pretty well, but the 9, the 11's already running, a half lap down. So that was okay. But the fact that in these stages, the 9 and the 11 and the 20 and the 45 and stuff, none of these guys are getting stage points. And some were close. The 9 was close to getting stage points in that stage, but with all the chaos that was happening coming in the last couple laps there, some of those guys got shucked, as you said, and that improved that. So they're just kind of coasting along here, just in a good points position. And I was wondering from the stands, like, how's that going to impact their strategy? Are we going to see him fall all the way to the back again and then just hope for the best at the end, hope for like chaos at the end, and then get a really solid finish and hopefully lock up that second position? Or was he going to get the go ahead at some point to go and try and race for a win?
Yeah. So Jonathan says he thinks the 1 will take fuel only, and asked Ryan to drag back a little bit. Just, basically let the 1 car. But
I want to know your opinion on this, because what happens here? Because in the stands, I was like furious, and what I was just talking about, is he going to go to the back and just hang out? Essentially, gets decided for us.
Yeah.
But go through that, and then I just want your opinion on what kind of happens here and what you saw maybe on the in-car camera.
Yeah, so that was the interesting thing, was the 1 car actually ends up getting penalized because they believe he pitted out of they plugged in outside the box to begin with. So then they were having a problem with backing up and then getting back into position. They get penalized for this, and Ryan held up anyway, and then they decided to just go around him because it took them way too long. They should have been gone by the time Ryan got there, and they weren't.
Because he slides through his own box into the 12 box, into Ryan's way, so Ryan's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
It was just, and I was furious because, I thought this was their opportunity, but the radio after, though, no one seemed to really care, right? And I'm guessing that's because this was the strategy anyway.
Yeah, they knew that they were, because here's the thing, they said we're going to top it off with 1 to go, so they knew you're going to be near the back or around the back anyway, and and when you top off with 1 to go, then you have to go tail into the longest line. So they were all ready to do all that stuff, whether or not that happened or not. So it was let's get these tires on, get them on there good. Let's get as much fuel as we can. And like I said, come back in, top it off, make sure we got all the fuel we needed. And they did all that. So the 1 goes to the rear for his pit road infraction. 9 went to pit road early because he was about to run out at the end of stage 2. They stretched it, and they didn't really make it. So he ends up to the rear.
I think the 24 did as well. The 24 was on that same strategy.
On fumes. So at this point, like I said, I think I don't know where we were looking, but they had Larson up like 1 point on Ryan and on Chase at this point wise. So basically, you just had to beat those guys, and Bell make sure that Bell wasn't more than 12 points ahead of you because he was 12 back. So right now, at that point, going into the third stage, that's just make sure by the end of the race you're beating those guys. That's all what my mindset was, because that's 3 or 4, like you said, 3 to 4, 4 or 5 point difference in when they reset these points. So they come back in, they top it off, and single file for all the penalty cars. The 20 is leading at this point, restarting at lap 100 from P28, lap 103. The 66 gets a flat tire. So we're 27th, and because he pits at lap 105 here. The 42 and the 20 are battling in the front here. And at lap 108, we get a caution for the 11. Allegedly had no steering at this point. And that car
I was, speaking of being furious again.
Yeah, get that thing off the track.
Yeah, he's going into the corner. Oh, I can't steer, blah, blah, blah. Gets like halfway around the back after the caution comes out, and then he comes blazing back to pit road, totally fine. Now, he did mention on the radio that, something was messed up with the steering, and then I think it eventually went away, and they diagnosed it as like piece of the tire or something got in there and caught or whatever. I mean, I don't know. He really wanted to stay on the lead lap, or at least one lap down, to be able to get the free pass. So that was really questionable.
It was interesting because he did his podcast Sunday. He didn't mess around. He did it Sunday. It was already out. And so everybody got to listen to him. And he said that the car got progressively worse as they worked on it. So everything that they threw at trying to fix it wasn't working for him, including like the toe link that they put a new one in and everything. So so we get the 42 leading, and let's see here. Ryan is talking about the fuel saving ideas. So the second time by, let's see where we at. We top off with 1 to go. And Jonathan says, we're going to put tires on it too, just to be safe, because they thought there might have been a piece of brake rotor out there or something. And once again, they have to draw back a little bit because the one is pitting. And so lots of cars come in, top off. The 22 is now leading. The restart lap 115 or P25. And Ryan says, just let me know when it's okay to go. And Jonathan says it should be pretty quick, but we'll let you know. So it's kind of interesting, like, just do what you've been doing, but we'll let you know when we're good to push. The 3 takes the lead. And at lap 120 here, the 3 and the 22 are battling for the lead. And we're P27. And, the 42, the 42 and the 34 actually pass us. And that's why we move back a little bit. Lap 125 here, Jonathan says, you're good to go. So, Ryan says 10-4, and they're P24 at lap 126, P22 in the high lane. At lap 128, P18, bottom of 3. Now, what's interesting is he's pushing, and a lot of guys aren't pushing. This is part of the strategy too. At this point, is that he knows he can go where other cars might not make it if they push and make them cars run faster. So
one thing I will say here is, when we talk about what happens in the end, kind of coming out of nowhere, is the fact that when he gets this go ahead to go, and you'll go through this, he's trying all kinds of stuff, different lanes. There's times when he falls all the way back to the back again, and then he goes and tries again. Mm-hmm. And when I'm seeing that, I keep talking about being frustrated in the stands. I'm frustrated again because I'm like, here we go again. This is this new style of super speedway where it's impossible to go from the back to the front, even though I know that Ryan has done it before in this car. But still, I'm like, he's stuck back there. He's going to finish 15th. I'm like, hopefully the 9 and the 5 fall back enough to where he can still jump a couple people in the points. But that's where I was kind of at. That's where I thought they were going to get, just because you could see he's trying. He's trying everything during this run.
Yeah, so lap 130, P18, lots of 3 wide in front of him. Lap 131 here, trying the bottom of 3, P22. Lap 135, 19th now in the high lane, behind the 34. Lap 137 here, the 78 blows the tire, but he gets off the track. We're in 20th. Lap 139 goes low, but gets stuck behind the 21. 21 really didn't seem to move forward very well, so he's in 22nd. At lap 140 here, 19th in the low lane. Lap 142. makes his way up to 15. And the 22 and the 43 are battling up front. And lap 143 back to 23rd. Like you said, it's like I got shuffled. Maybe he got shuffled a little bit. Lap 145, P18 here. Like I said, too many squirrels is what I have written as a note because the guys he's pushing are maybe not as skilled as him, so they don't know what to do with the push when they get it, or it dies too much. But lap 147 up to 16th, lap 148, the 22 kind of gets shucked there and kind of so they actually that's when when the shucking happens, right? That's when
The big shuck.
The big shuck, yeah. So he gets stuck. Yeah, I got the word stuck in there with shuck, and that almost messed me up. He gets stuck on the grass. Now, a lot of people in the conspiracy theory world think that he could have went down pit lane, but when you watch the replay, he did actually have the wheels turn, trying to go down pit lane at one point, but he just didn't have control of the car. And then he did get on the grass and get stuck in the weirdest place.
Yeah, next, once again, furious in the stands because I saw it from behind, where you could see him, aiming right at pit lane and then like just veering to the right into the grass, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Not knowing that honestly, this caution ends up being the best thing that happens for this race and for the 12. But once you see the replays, you do see him. He is trying to steer it, and it's just not working, and then gets caught right at the edge. His tires are spinning. Has to be, I'm sure, frustrating for Joey. So that might have been some interesting radio communication as that was going on, especially out of the lead. That's rough.
That's rough. So quickie yellow here. The 43 is now leading. The 7, the 5, the 60, the 17, and the 9 are up in the front. Ryan is P14 at this point. And the leader is the 43 taking the top. Ryan also takes the top, gets to row 7 on the top. He decides to lose a lane basically to be in the top. So we're going to restart the lap 152 here, going to 160. The 42 is pushing us, and we're pushing the 41. Now on the radio, right before this, Ryan does tell Tim to tell the 41, if he goes, I'm going to go with him. So kind of like that whole thing, where I'm going to push you, and if you make a move, I'm going to stick with you and try to push you and keep pushing you. So also what that does in the 41's mind is if I make a move and want to go further, I'm going to make a move. I want to make sure there's a hole for him behind me too. So if I get out past somebody, I want to get out far enough where he can follow me, and we get this, up to P12 on that lap, and 7 and the 43 are battling out front for the lead. And that storyline is, either one wins and they're in, lap 154, we're in P13, the 43 gets shut, and he goes backwards here. And then lap 157 here, and I don't know if the video shows this, the 60 is kind of like middle, and he gets shucked, and it kind of like disorganizes the middle. And as we get to the last lap or two, this kind of actually helps what Ryan does, because Ryan and the 41 go to the high lane and create third lane for the last 2 laps.
So instead of describing it, do you want to just watch it?
Yeah, let's see if we can take a look at what this is going to look like, and then maybe we'll look at it and describe it, and because it's an exciting couple of laps.
You can pop out now, 3 wide, coming 2 back. 1 back, the 6, 99, and 43 by themselves, go high.
Here comes the 60. There he goes.
To the white here, back to 2 wide here.
Disorganizes the middle lane.
Middle's open, not the front, not the front, not the front. Push him along here. You guys got it here, push him along. Got help on back 99, not the front, the one you're pushing, the probably block, middle to back. Probably block, middle to back, getting tighter in front here. All rolling, no, top rolling. Top rolling, top rolling, top rolling. Top rolling, 3 wide, top, 3 wide, top. Keep pushing his ass, 3 wide. You got help on back, 3 wide here. Nothing in front of him.
All I'm thinking about is that 5 car. Got to get past him.
Yep. Nothing front, coming to the white.
Now we've moved him to the front.
This is big push right here.
Lock tight,
Big
front,
push.
not the front,
Put
not
down
the front.
the
Tight,
7 now.
2 wide with the 5.
Nor do we
2 wide,
found.
3 wide. You got help.
41 places
Staggered.
is
Off
hard.
your left
Tries
rear
to
5.
hang back a little bit.
From the
Another
41.
good run later on.
Top of 3.
I think Ryan's committed to pushing the 41 to the win here too.
Yeah, it really is.
4-1 here. Top of 3.
So it's all up to the 41
They're
to
both desperate here.
do it.
Still there,
And
5. Still there.
And he
still
does
there,
it.
Still there. Still there, 5. Can't get clear. Still there. 3 wide staggered. Up the front, the one you're pushing. Up the front. Up the front. Come to the checkered. Still there. Still there. Clear 1 lane down.
I'm losing my mind right now. When they're
Still inside. Watch your top. Top will meet there first. Watch your top here. Coming to it. Guard your top. Get the push from the top. Now middle. Now middle. Coming to our top. 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 Coming to it. Coming to it. Yes! Inside. Inside. They're wrecking the above.
There it is.
There you buddy.
You did it.
You did it.
Fucking go!
There it is. There's the spot. Tim is the one who told us who won, by the way,
Awesome.
because
Hell of
with
a
our
job.
2 TV setup, the TV that's actually ahead is actually the in-car camera, the way we have it set up. And so that's what we see first. And Tim's the one who tells us because we're watching just what you just saw just now out the front of the car, and we have no clue where everybody was around him. We knew everybody was around him, but going back to what happened on the backstretch here, the 7 screws himself because when he comes up to block the 41 had such a run, he had to go somewhere else. And he went down low, figuring maybe he'll get around the 7, and the 7 followed him. And as soon as that happened, the 99, and actually whoever was organized behind the 99, really put a good push on, pushed all the way into that corner, and then caused everything to go great down the front stretch. And I lost my voice. My wife lost her voice. The dog was like, why are you guys yelling at the TV screen? We had to get her a treat because she got all excited with us. But what a great way to end the night.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I mentioned to you, Ryan in his post-race interviews has talked a lot about how he worked with the 41 and how they had planned it out and how he was committed to pushing him to the front. But from the stands, I could see the 99 forming that outside lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking in that moment, and as they're coming, I'm like, if Ryan could just get in front of him as soon as he gets there.
Yeah.
And then they do, and the 41 goes with him, and I'm like, that's okay. He'll figure it out. And then you see the 7 up front racing, and I'm like, if Ryan can push all the way up to the front, those guys out there are not, Haley's won an Xfinity race here and some other stuff at Daytona, but I'm like, not in the Cup Series. Well, he's won a race at Daytona in the Cup Series by staying out during a lightning play.
Yeah, when Kurt Busch decided to come in.
Yeah. But I'm like, he's not as experienced as Ryan. I'm like, if Ryan can get there, he could win based on who's out front. And then you see the 41, and in my opinion, being impatient, but also desperate to get into the playoffs, make that move and he describes it. He says, yeah, the 7, moved up. I saw the opportunity to go underneath them to, try to win the race, and those guys get to racing. And then how I said, as we were watching the replay, I was losing my mind is when Ryan goes out to the lead on the outside. Cause I was like, it's over. Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to, he knows what to do. He has the camera now too. Plus with Tim telling him everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. And there's still an opportunity for somebody else to win. And I kind of joked in our Discord chat after when I watched the actual race replay that was the only thing if I had a complaint, and it shouldn't really be a complaint, it's just me being selfish, was that Lee Diffie was really setting it up for that underdog story again with Cole Custer winning. And then at the last second has to shift and say, Ryan Blaney does it. But that's the only thing is that, we didn't get that magical call like we got last year with Harrison winning. But regardless, 12 out of nowhere, essentially, after running in the back almost the entire race after leading early on, gets a win. And second time at Daytona, 5th super speedway race altogether, second next gen super speedway race, and proving once again that he's one of the guys that has adapted to this style, and he's one of the guys that can go from the back to the front still. I talked to you about in his media availability after the race. One of the first questions he's asked from a reporter is, this was very Earnhardt-like. You know, is that something you're thinking about, or is that something you would compare it to? And smartly, Ryan just says nope, because you don't, as you said, he doesn't want to touch that. You don't want to. You never want to be the guy that compares you to Earnhardt, but we could do it. I mean, and I won't say it was Earnhardt like in that he did all the same things Earnhardt would do, but Earnhardt has done. I mean, that last race he won at Talladega was with Kenny Wallace pushing him all the way to the front, much like the 99 pushed the 12 all the way to the front in when he won that race. So I think that's what a lot of people are thinking of, and Earnhardt Jr. when he won that summer race in 2001 as well. So it was another kind of back to the front kind of a victory. So Ryan gets that moment. Like I said, tons of fans in the stands were excited. The people in our section actually before that last restart were asking us, you know, who you pulling for here? The people next to us were Suarez fans, which my wife liked. I'm the Blaney fan. So when you've kind of like you're at a race and you're sitting with people that are all actually nice, sometimes that it doesn't always happen. You kind of make quick friends and people know who's rooting for who, and then everyone kind of celebrates together when it's over. And I know a lot of folks that follow us were there in person too. So that's happy. Some of them were seeing their first wins in person of Ryan. Some were seeing their second, third, fourth win. So I was just happy to be there again. And looks like it's another race win diecast. I'm gonna have to pre-order, and future Adam's gonna have to worry about paying for it in a year when it comes out. But exciting in the advanced auto parts scheme as well, which
the jinx
has confused some people because they even Advanced Auto Parts makes a joke about and Ryan talks about it post race why he did his burnout, because he says this scheme is cursed. And to clarify, the Advanced Auto Parts scheme is cursed on super speedway tracks. It's crashed at Daytona. It's crashed at Talladega. It's crashed drafting tracks. It's crashed at Atlanta. He made the comment that, I've gone nose first into the wall and smashed this car up multiple times. Yes, it did win at Iowa last year.
Right.
But they break the curse on super speedways with this car. It's going to look great as a race win diecast with all that confetti.
I did a TikTok showing the cannon going off in victory lane from the inside of the car. I don't know if people saw that or caught that, but if you watch the whole, it's only like 30 some seconds, but if you watch the whole video or the whole TikTok, the ending is basically everybody spraying the car from the side. You see water, but then all of a sudden the confetti hitting the car. And I did that all for the diecast enthusiasts, so they can check it out later.
So this was a big win, not only for the 12 and Ryan, but big win for spotter Tim Fedewa. Looking up his stats, he was with Kevin Harvick for a long time, won a ton of races with Kevin Harvick, did not win a super speedway race in the Cup Series though. And you could hear it in his voice even before Ryan crosses the finish line, and especially after. You can hear the emotion. My favorite part, and it's kind of cool because we had that, checkered flag at the line thing from Josh for the first Coke Zero 400 win. And this one to me is the Tim coming on when it's kind of quiet and just says, "You did it." That was a great moment because you could hear the emotion in his voice, and he's like celebrating his driver, kind of pulling off that victory at the same time. So that was really cool to see. So I'm pumped up like already again, just talking about this. Like I said, these are my favorite episodes to do. And
why don't we introduce the guest, and then after that we'll talk about the standings.
Yeah, so we teased it at the top of the show. He was an integral part in the victory this past Saturday at Daytona International Speedway. And for the second time, we're going to welcome crew chief Jonathan Hassler to the Team Blaney podcast. So let's go over to that interview that we recorded a little bit earlier tonight. Let's welcome back the winning crew chief from the Coke Zero Sugar 400 this past weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Championship winning crew chief for Ryan Blaney and the number 12 Ford Mustang for Team Penske. That's Jonathan Hassler for the second time right here on the Team Blaney podcast. Thanks, Jonathan, for joining us.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
So the last time we talked to you, it was 2 years ago, and it was
Where'd our audio go? Hey, we have no audio. There's no audio.
But it's the truth.
Where'd it go?
We can try it in a different way since that one's not.
Oh, the audio went a little haywire there. Hang on a second. We'll get it. It's live television, folks.
Was it like that the whole time or just cut out?
Well, the first couple seconds were fine, and then it cut out.
We'll try it again. We'll see. If not, we're definitely going to upload it separately as well.
Yeah, its own thing.
Let's welcome back the winning crew chief from the Coke Zero Sugar 400 this past weekend at Daytona International Speedway. A championship winning crew chief for Ryan Blaney and the number 12 Ford Mustang for Team Penske. That's Jonathan Hassler for the second time right here on the Team Blaney podcast. Thanks, Jonathan, for joining us.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
So the last time we talked to you, it was 2 years ago, and it was actually we were kicking off our coverage of your 2023 season, which turned out to be a championship effort for you guys. Congratulations on that. A very much belated congratulations on that. You guys almost won out and won a championship again last year. So you've kind of built this formula that's working for you. Did you change anything in your approach this season after those two strong seasons?
Yeah, not really, Adam. We really just try to focus, and I've said it before, and it sounds generic, but it's the truth. And you just try to focus on trying to be, a little bit better the next time. I think never running the same setup. Strategy is probably a little bit more stagnant, I guess, but certainly try to learn from, every time you were at the track, the past from a setup and strategy perspective, and just try to keep moving forward. And that's really the secret. That's all it is just keep trying to be a step better each and every week.
So this past weekend, fuel was always like a strategy thing at the super speedways, and we noticed that each stage was a little bit different because the stage was shorter than the first stage was way shorter than usual. Did that change the fuel strategies that you guys usually do for a race?
Yeah, the first stage was definitely different than any other speedway race during the year. But the second and third stages were very similar to any of the other speedway races through the year. The 500 and the two races at Talladega, and the way those races have played out, our strategy is just to be efficient with fuel and try to maintain some track position, before the green flag stop, and try to make sure that if there is a green flag stop, that we take the least amount of fuel, and that gives us the best opportunity to cycle forward. So that was certainly our approach on Saturday night.
Yeah, did the point situation coming into the race, knowing that you guys were that close to second place to begin with, did that kind of affect what you were trying to do in each stage too, where you were trying to get those stage points?
For sure, Steve. That was a huge impact on the way we looked at the whole night. We started the season, the 2025 season, and our goal as a team was to be the regular season champion. And after the string of DNFs, kind of early, mid part of the year, it seemed like that was, that ship had sailed. That wasn't going to be achievable. But we kind of started running pretty strong there. These last couple of months, and have been chipping away. At the points deficit, and saw after Richmond that we had an opportunity to get to second, and with our goal, like I said, being the regular season championship, we were all excited to at least have the opportunity, with all the misfortune that we had, to go and get second, and that was definitely our goal on Saturday night.
Now you bring up those kind of misfortunes this year, the DNFs this year. You did pick up that win at Nashville, but races like Iowa and Richmond and Darlington earlier this season, where you guys were so close to winning there as well, do nights like Saturday night, where he comes from 13th to the front in the last two laps, and it's not a surprising win for Blaney to win a super speedway, but does any of that kind of like go away, knowing that at any moment you have a driver that can kind of pick up a victory in an exciting, dramatic finish?
For sure, Adam. I think we all, like you said, we feel like Homestead was another race this year. Darlington,
Yep.
We felt like we had done everything that we needed to do, and we were in position to win those races, and it didn't work out. So yeah, to be on the other side of it, where you probably didn't have a perfect race or a perfect strategy, but things kind of worked out for us to get the win. Like I said, to be on the other end of that is certainly makes some of those other races a little bit easier to swallow.
The racing this past weekend seemed to be a little bit different from some of the past super speedway races, and I've heard a lot of different opinions on this, whether it was the amount of cars that were on the track after the first crash, or handling. Some drivers said their cars handled awesome, others said they didn't. The track surface is aging a little bit. What changed? Because in some of these races at Daytona and Talladega, when these guys are going all out at the end of the race, it seemed like a parking lot still, and nobody could really make big moves. But clearly, the 12 made a great move. The third lane actually worked in a non-fuel strategy, fuel-saving strategy mode for the race. Like, what do you think impacted the way the racing played out?
Yeah, I think if you go back and you look, there's some really unusual scenarios just with that race being, a cutoff race, and you didn't see green flag stops, which I think is typically where you see a lot of the strong manufacturer alliances, and that brings a lot of the manufacturers, together on track. You didn't have those opportunities, but I think what you did see, if you go back and watch, is you see some guys that were willing to not push, one of the other manufacturers. So I think those scenarios are what made certain lanes go at certain times. And I think guys that, I give Ryan a lot of credit. He was pretty aware of, how guys were lined up and who was going to push who, and why certain lanes were going to prevail. And I think that certainly, helped the third lane go there so strong at the end.
Ryan has 5 super speedway wins under his belt in his Cup Series career. 2 of them now, Talladega and Daytona, have come in the next gen car. We've seen some other guys like Denny Hamlin that were like masters of this in the previous version of the car, have not really been able to adapt to this newer style. What's made Ryan be able to adapt, and what's made him still so good still in this new car?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of pieces to that. Honestly, I feel, I think Ford as a manufacturer, we have been really, really strong at all of the speedways, and I don't think that's something that the Toyota group can really say. Whatever they have sort of submitted as a package and the engine, situation that they have, I think that certainly hasn't been in their best interest in terms of speedway racing. I think maybe in 2022 they were strong at the speedways, but since then I think that's certainly hindered that group. So like I said, we've been fortunate to be a blue oval here, and I think that's certainly helped with Ryan's continued success. But I'll give Ryan and Joey and Austin and now Josh a lot of credit. They don't look at it certainly as luck or circumstance. They put a lot of time and effort into understanding all of the different scenarios and what can happen through the race. And we play out so many scenarios leading up to these races, and a lot of them don't happen, but certainly when the ones that do, the guys are really prepared. And then on the flip side, after a race, the guys spend a lot of time going through what happened and what the circumstances were, and if they had the opportunity to do it again, would they do something different? So I think it's a combination of strong manufacturers, strong engines from Roush Yates, and a great Ford aero package, as well as a lot of work on the drivers to make sure they take full advantage of it.
So it was a really, really big night for spotter Tim Fedewa also. How has that relationship kind of evolved with you, Jim, and Ryan in these last year and a half, basically, since you've been together?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to work with Tim. Tim comes from working with Kevin, working with a driver that's really successful, and has a lot of talent, and no different than Ryan. I think the things that they ask for at times are different. Tim's kind of had to just learn kind of what Ryan's style is and what he wants to hear. But he's continued to improve and continue to, speedway racing is certainly where the spotter probably has the most, ability to impact the outcome of the race. So I give Tim a lot of credit for continuing to grow and helping us get another speedway run.
So now we're on to the playoffs, and from your perspective of Team 12 and what we're going to do you look at it just as 1 week at a time kind of approach, or are you somebody who looks at each round, like these next 3 races, and how we set up things for these next 3 races?
Yeah, I think it's a combination for sure. Just the way the schedule is in general. We start talking about a track in terms of how we're going to build the car and what our, real baseline approach is going to be 6 or 7 weeks out. Tomorrow I'm going to meet with the guys and we're going to just rough something in for, if we're going to go race the Charlotte Roval tomorrow, what will we do? But then, in each of the preceding weeks, we'll, make small adjustments to kind of what our plan is. And certainly as we get closer to the race, the number of changes and thoughts and different paths we could explore from that will change. But for the most part, we approach it like we do every other race through the year, kind of on a, 2-week span, I would say. We'll, like I said, 6 or 7 weeks out, we'll kind of pencil something in on paper and kind of get the shop going in the right direction to build the car. And in the last couple of weeks, we'll make those last handful of changes. And honestly, it's not until usually the Wednesday morning that we load the car that we'll decide on most of the final changes. And even, right up until the car goes on track and after practice, we can make a lot of different, smaller changes to the car. So certainly continue to evolve. I think as you look at the playoffs, you really have to gauge, I said it on another interview earlier this week, your approach is to always get better, but in the playoffs, you certainly got to question how much of a limb you're going to go out on to get better. This first race at Darlington for us, I go back and review the first Darlington race, and I feel like if we'd executed on pit road, we pretty easily could have won that race. And so for us to bring a drastically different setup, even if we have, a lot of new ideas, just doesn't make sense for this stage in the game. So certainly address it on a race by race case. And as we get closer to the elimination round and, our situation varies, decide how aggressive we may or may not want to be.
Jonathan, the narrative the last few years has been that, Team Penske has some speed during the regular season, but they focus everything on the playoffs, and that's when they come alive, and that's why they've won 3 straight championships. From the inside, is that a narrative that you buy into, or do you guys have a totally different approach that maybe people on the outside kind of don't understand?
Yeah, I struggle to completely buy into that narrative. Like I said, certainly as you get, closer to elimination round and any of these rounds of playoffs, there's more risks from a, setup perspective that you're willing to try to explore. But, I think a lot of it is, and again, something that I feel like I've talked about earlier this week with other people is that, you have the winner and during the winter, you really look at what you did over the past year and say, what could I have done different? And you'll come up with 3 or 4 different things that, I could have went this direction or this direction. And I think you really spend the first, quarter of the year trying to evaluate those different ideas that you had and learn from them. And then really the middle part of the year, you start iterating on things that have worked. And I really think it's just part of the process of, continuing to improve throughout a season that kind of has worked well for us.
You've talked a lot about setups and making changes to the car and tweaks and what you bring week to week. We're several years into this new car yet. I don't even know that we can call it a new car anymore. But when they went to the next gen car, it put you guys in a really tight box. At least that's kind of what we heard out of the gate. Definitely compared to what you were able to do ahead of time at the shop, during practice, ahead of qualifying with the old car versus this car. Over these years, and as things have evolved, have you guys found kind of new and more innovative ways to set up a car that maybe you didn't anticipate in 2022 when it launched?
Yeah, certainly, Adam. I think, as we go, there's no question that the window and the ideas, they get slimmer for sure. Fortunately, there are some smaller rules changes along the way. I think, if you look at the short track package, we've actually had a couple of different aero configurations, really 3 different aero configurations since 2022 at all the short tracks. That's probably, allowed us to continue to develop and look at new things. On the intermediate side, we've had a couple of different, changes with our body. We had some changes from 2022 to 2023, and then the Dark Horse Mustang in 2024, aero wise was a little bit different. So you have to continue to adapt to those things as well. So while the window has gotten a little bit smaller, there still are changes that I think you continue to explore and refine kind of what you're doing. Sometimes with the body change, there are changes that you wish you could make. That with the old car, if you wanted to build a car with, say more front downforce, that was something that you could do 3 or 4 weeks out. Well, now that's, a year or 2 out. So you really have to shelf some of your ideas and kind of how you want to, respond. So, yeah, it certainly gets smaller, but there are rules changes and changes from a manufacturer side that we have to continue to kind of respond to.
We've talked about the 7 DNFs on the year, which plenty of people have brought that up. But again, still second in points with this win over the weekend. How do you grade a season like that, where outside of the DNFs, you guys maybe have 2 finishes that were 19th or worse, basically? Like, how do you grade a season where it's been so drastically different?
Yeah, in general, Adam, I feel like we've been really strong this year. We've been really consistent from week to week. We've had a shot to, honestly, I feel like most of the intermediate races aside from Indianapolis, I feel like we're a move or 2 away from kind of being in contention to win. Our short track program probably wasn't quite where I wanted to be early in the year, but we made big steps at Richmond. Iowa was another really good race for us, so I think we've kind of gone the right direction with that. So I feel like from a speed standpoint, we're as good as we've been each of these last few years, if not probably a little bit better. So excited that with that going into the playoffs, but certainly need to continue, like I said, to find a little bit more, because certainly others will. And as you mentioned, we have this kind of reputation at Team Penske of rising to another level at the playoffs, and I think a lot of people have tried to figure that out, and certainly will improve their game as the playoffs go as well.
You made one slight change a little earlier in the year, bringing Keyston into Team 12 as a new tire changer. How's that been working out for you guys so far this year?
Yeah, Keyston has been a great addition to our team. I think I still Ryan had done a great job for us. It just it wasn't quite clicking, and I don't think I'll say it openly, I don't think Keyston in his own that one change, I don't think that was the only thing that has led to our improvement on pit road, but we've certainly gotten better. I think making that move just puts a little bit more pressure, and I think it makes every other member of the pit crew and the whole race team look at what they're bringing to the table and figure out things that we can do differently to be a little bit better. And it certainly kind of jump started those guys. Those guys have been on pit road on a really good streak here.
We've talked a lot on this show this year about what we've seen. I don't want to call it a change, but just the evolution of Ryan Blaney in that he doesn't really seem to have a quote unquote bad track anymore. A long time it was Richmond, but that's figured out now. The last thing in like the last couple of years have been where, again, I don't even want to say lacking or like complain, but like road courses sometimes he didn't always have the speed. But you guys, your road course program in 2025, even though the finishes don't always show it, you guys have brought a lot of speed on the road courses. You still have another one coming up with the Roval in the playoffs that could be crucial. You sat on the pole at the last road course race over SVG. He did end up winning, but still, can you give us any insight on like what kind of has changed there? Because it's been awesome to see, honestly.
Yeah, I think I felt like in 2022 we were pretty strong on the road courses, and then for whatever reason in 2023 we kind of started to lose our way a little bit, and really have probably had we've had ups and downs, I would say, in 2023 and 2024 on the road courses, and we spent a lot of time in the off season trying to understand things we need to do differently and a different approach maybe that we needed to have. And I give Ryan a lot of credit. He's spent a lot of time kind of in the simulator trying to, make himself better and help us make the cars better. He's been, really open-minded. He's been working with Joey Hand. For each of the road course races, we spend, I would say 2 to 4 hours with Joey, and he's super open-minded to the input that he has, and just the different way a road course driver approaches those tracks compared to somebody that runs ovals 99% of the time. So I give Ryan a lot of credit. I think on the team side, we've certainly made our cars a little bit better. So I'm super proud of the progress that we made through the year this year on the road courses.
We talked to Ryan after you guys won that championship in 2023. For him, it wasn't just a check mark on the resume, and now he can kind of just focus on other things. He said it made him even hungrier than ever to win another one. I'm going to guess you and the rest of the team kind of share that same opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I think I thought about it a lot this week. We won our first race as a group. We won the All-Star race in Texas, and that was good. But obviously, I think there's an asterisk out there for everybody that it's not a points race, and the format has this or that. So fast forward a year to to 2023 when we were able to win. That was a huge relief for everybody. And I'm not saying this as a negative, but we win the race on Saturday in Daytona, and it's a little bit more of we've been there before, and then this is just kind of what we expect. I think a lot of the guys celebrated with their families on Sunday. Fortunately, we had the opportunity, and then coming to work Monday, and some guys on Tuesday, and it just kind of business as usual. So maybe not maybe not as glamorous as you'd like, or as much camaraderie maybe as you'd like, but certainly, like I said, it's a little bit more of just kind of what we expect and what the whole group knows that we're capable of.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for coming on and talking with us once again. We look forward to another interview in the future after another victory, hopefully. But good luck to you, to Ryan Blaney, all of Team 12 as you guys try to go out there and win your second championship as a group.
Thank you guys a ton. I appreciate each and everything, all the things you guys do for us. Thank you.
Well, that was Crew Chief Jonathan Hassler. Again, very thankful for him to give us the time tonight to share his insights with all of our followers and listeners that's been following along live tonight on Facebook and YouTube and elsewhere. So always great to have another member of the team on there. We've mentioned in the past that Jonathan has really been the key to getting us some connections and bringing you all of those interviews with the different pit crew members and engineers and truck drivers and everybody possible behind the scenes with working with Steve. He's the one that's helped make that happen. So we're very thankful for that. And we've been waiting a while to actually bring him back on again. And sometimes he's the kind of guy that actually pushes that to actually, you know what, talk to this guy because, you know, he was crucial this week. So it's kind of cool how humble he is, but man, he gave us some really cool insights and details into strategies and car setups and things like that, I thought, in that interview.
It's almost like he didn't like you hear all the different details that he goes through, and it's like, how does he even have time to talk to us? You know, because it was a lot of details there that they, you know, from day to day, week to week, hour to hour, the different things that they do and how much time they spend on certain things. So really appreciative that he had a chance to stop by. Like I said, like you said, he usually pushes it to somebody. He says, "Hey, this guy was crucial," or that guy, you know. And we got that moment where Chris Conklin, after Talladega a couple of years ago, we're going to win this thing, you know, and things like that wouldn't have happened without Jonathan's help. So so appreciative of everything he does. And this is another reason that we root for not just Ryan, but everybody involved with Team 12 every week.
So there's one last thing we have to clean up when it comes to the Coke Zero Sugar 400 from Daytona, and that is the results in the regular season finale for the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. So let's go over our starting lineups, our featured matchups, and where we finished off the weekend. So starting lineup for me was Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Cindric is in the garage. So Blaney winning the race got me 52 points overall. Bowman, 1 point overall. Logano, 23. Suarez, who finished P2, got me 35 points. Brad K got me 19 points. Cindric in the garage only had 1 point. So not that bad there to leave him there. Featured matchups, I picked Buescher over Dillon. That was right. I picked Bowman over Reddick. That was wrong. Busch over Priest. That was wrong. And Keselowski over Gibbs. That was wrong. So 1 of 4 on the featured matchups. But with all the chaos that happens at these tracks, not too shabby. 27th overall on the weekend, 140 points earned.
Yeah. So I had Joey, Tyler Reddick, Priest, Briscoe, and Kyle Busch there. Bowman put him in the garage once everything happened to him. So Kyle Busch was only 4 points. Briscoe was 21. Priest was 29. Reddick was 16, and Logano was 23. So not a lot of points there. And I think I split the matchups. If I look at it right here, yeah, I had Buescher over Dillon. I had Bowman, unfortunately. I had Priest, who did beat Kyle Busch, and then I had Brad over Gibbs, and he missed that by about 10 spots. So I don't even know where I ended up this week. I know it wasn't great.
Not too bad. 18th. Yeah. 18th overall, 164 points earned on the weekend. So that brings us to the top 10 in points earned on the weekend at Daytona. Chelsea Megan, 1912. 10th overall, 176 points earned. 9th was Abby NNK, 179. Blaniacal was in 8th, 183 points. Defending champion Racer SF was in 7th, 185 points. Front row John was in 6th, 186 points. Alyssa C in 5th with 195 points. Little 74, 196 points in 4th. Vans 12 was in 3rd with 199 points on the weekend. Fike 21 was in 2nd with 204 points. And then Subak 5 wins the weekend at Daytona, 209 points. Now let's take a look at the overall standings, which also are the results of the regular season championship in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. My team, Team Blaney host Adam, finished 64th overall in the regular season, 4,301 points. Earned.
My wife is on the front page. She's made it up to 47th, by the way.
All right. Congrats.
With, like missing to set lineups and missing the first week or two where she wasn't in the league just yet. So pretty solid by her.
My wife finished 32nd overall. Rogers T, 4,560 points on the year so far. Let's take a look now at the top 10, and that starts with your team. You slipped a little bit here. Yeah. Mez 12 in 10th, 4,775 points to finish the regular season. 9th is Blaney Kicks Beep with 4,800 points. The Daisy Dukes are in 8th, 4,807 points. Go 12 Go was in 7th, 4,809 points. Dr. Race Chaser was in 6th, 4,855. Clyde's Chicken Pit Racing, a former champ in the league, 5th overall, 4,890 points. Pit Stop Pros in 4th with 4,891. Vans 12 is in 3rd, 4,896. Our friend Jordan Daniels is in 2nd, 4,904 points. And winning the regular season in a strong fashion here, Alyssa C, overall, 1st position, 4,952 points on the year. Congratulations on that regular season championship. And now everything shifts toward the playoffs. And we'll look forward to that. Though, the way the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League works, we actually crown our champion Mark Martin style based on the overall point standings.
Whole season, right?
We'll celebrate whoever wins the playoff version of the league as well.
Sure.
But when we've crowned our past champions and Racer SF and Clyde's Chicken Pit Racing, it's all been based on the overall league standing. So keep.
But
that
now keep in mind they reset your usage, so everybody gets 5 usage now. 5 of the next 10 you can use somebody. So look for Ryan Blaney to show up back in my lineup real soon.
The other thing to note for those that are playing fantasy is that NASCAR has also released a second game for the playoffs. It's called like the NASCAR Playoffs Grid Challenge. So if you go onto the NASCAR app or the NASCAR website and set up picks for that, you can search for leagues. You can search for Team Blaney Podcast there and join our Grid Challenge League as well. If you're a fan rewards member, I believe you will get bonus points and stuff that will go toward fan rewards as well. So take a look for that. It's basically just setting up your bracket. You'll pick who's going to make it from the round of 16 to the round of 12, from the round of 12 to the round of 8, the round of 8 to and so on and so forth. So some interesting picks there for me. Maybe that's something when you and Kate go live on Wednesday and you're doing talking a little bit about the playoffs. Maybe you guys can set up some grid challenge teams, join the Team Blaney Podcast League, and then go through what your predictions are for those rounds. I think that'll be pretty cool content for the folks that are following along. So that brings us now to this upcoming weekend's race at Darlington Raceway. We talked about the point standings and how Ryan finished 2nd overall in the regular season championship standings. Now, that was a big swing for him because when you finish 2nd, when you finish 1st and win the regular season like William Byron did, you get 15 bonus playoff points. When you finish 2nd, you get 10. I think the way he was going into that race, he was only going to get about 6. So he got 4 more bonus playoff points than he was going to get by finishing 2nd, plus another 5 for winning the race at Daytona. So he went from 11 points on the season with his wins and stage wins to entering the playoffs with 26 playoff points on the season. So that was a big swing by winning Daytona, getting the 5 points for the win, and finishing 2nd in the overall regular season point standings. There's best case scenario outside of actually winning. And I know a lot of folks are wondering if they had even just finished, top 15, top 20 in some of those races that they got crashed out of earlier in the year. You're looking at a 12 team that very well could have won the regular season championship. So Kyle Larson actually goes in with the lead, I believe, with a tiebreaker over William Byron in the 1st position. So those two are 1st and 2nd at plus 26 to the cut line. Denny Hamlin's in 3rd at plus 23. Ryan Blaney enters the playoffs in the 4th overall position, plus 20. Christopher Bell's in 5th at plus 17. Shane Van Gisbergen with his 4 victories and the playoff points he got there, plus 16 to the cut line. 7th is Chase Elliott, plus 7th to the cut line. Chase Briscoe in 8th, plus 4. Bubba Wallace is in 9th, plus 2. Austin Cindric is in 10th, plus 2. Ross Chastain is in 11th, plus 1. And our other teammate, Joey Logano, is in the 12th position for the cutoff, above the cutoff line, also 1 point above. So that leaves Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, and Alex Bowman, the 4 that are currently out. And all of that will change when we head to Darlington. So let's take a look at the action at Darlington. Things will kick off on Saturday, August 30th, with NASCAR Cup Series practice at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So early on Saturday on True TV. on HBO Max, MRN, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Qualifying follows at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time from Darlington, also on True TV and on the radio. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race from Darlington is a little bit earlier in the day at noon. You can watch that, the Sober or Slammer 200 on FS1, on the NASCAR Racing Network, and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Now, the NASCAR Xfinity Series is across the country at Portland International Raceway. It's actually the last time they're going to be at Portland. They did not make the schedule for 2026. So they're on the road course out there. 3 p.m. Eastern Time, you can watch the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Portland on the CW and on the CW app, I guess, for that. So that's actually when their practice starts. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time is when the race is. It's the Pacific Office Automation 147 from the CW on TV, or from the NASCAR Xfinity Series on the CW on TV, MRN, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. So it's a little bit mixed up. Trucks are in Darlington, Xfinity Series on the road course out there in Portland.
Yeah.
Sunday, August 31st, you have another of the NASCAR Cup Series Crown Jewel races in the Cookout Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. So it's one of those races that's going to start in the evening, in the daylight, transition to night, and at the end of it, they'll crown a Crown Jewel race winner. You can watch that streaming on the NBC Sports app. It's on cable on the USA Network. Streaming the in-car cameras on HBO Max, MRN, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio for the radio call. Ryan Blaney at Darlington Raceway. 17 starts. He's led just 24 laps. Average start is okay, 10.1. Average finish, 18.8. He's had some struggles there. A lot of like actual crashes, and some instances crashes where he got some damage, but was able to finish the race. But that has resulted in some 24th, 22nd, 36th, 37th place finishes along the way.
Just has to stay away from the 19 car.
Oh gosh, yeah. Hopefully, and hopefully that works out. That's worked out earlier this season. So it was the previous driver of the 19 that was giving him some trouble. So again, success earlier there in the year in the spring race. Started 9th, finished 5th. That doesn't tell the whole story. They had a great long run strategy, as the 12 car normally does, on track, running away with the victory at the end. Kyle Larson, who crashed early on in the race. This was that race that we talk about where Ryan's wreck at Watkins Glen last year ended up changing the DVP policy for 2025. And this is one of the first instances where somebody took advantage of that, and it was the 5 car who spent the entire race repairing their car, came out toward the end of that race, set the fastest lap, and then just crashes with Bubba Wallace down the stretch with just a handful of laps remaining in the race as Ryan Blaney was running away with the victory, setting up a late race restart, plus a pit stop sequence, because you need tires at Darlington if you're going to win. The pit stop didn't go great for the 12 team. They lost the lead, and they could not regain it because, again, they had a setup that was much more a long run car setup. They didn't really have an opportunity to regain the lead on the restart, and didn't go their way. Jonathan brought that up in the interview earlier today, talking about that as being a race that they probably could have won but didn't win in 2025. So Crown Jewel race, Ryan has one of those under his belt when he won the Coca-Cola 600. He's been so close to winning the the Brickyard 400. He's been close to winning the Daytona 500 on a couple of occasions. Darlington, again, was one of those tracks where early in his career wasn't one of his best tracks, but since 2022, really since the next gen car, things have been trending better, except for really the 2024 races where he couldn't get away from the 19 car, and he has finishes of 36th and 37th. So, but prior to that, in the next gen car, 13th, 9th, and then 5th earlier there in the spring. So things have trended there a lot better for Ryan in this car versus the previous generation. Do you think this is one coming into the playoffs with a ton of momentum here? We already said every week they beating that drum. They're fast everywhere now. Is this a race that the 12 team could kind of go out there and set the bar and win right out of the gate in the playoffs?
What time is qualifying on Saturday?
9 a.m. Eastern time is practice. 10 a.m. Eastern time is qualifying.
All right. Can it just rain? Saturday, get a little Saturday morning rain shower going.
I don't know if we'll be that lucky again, but
No,
maybe.
lucky again. But, we'll send Justin and Chelsea up there, and they can do a rain dance Saturday morning. Just Saturday morning, just a little bit, just for an hour or two, and then they can do the rest of the stuff that day, just to get it started on the right foot. But I think that's it. Truthfully, is get started on the right foot. Get yourself a good chance to choose a good pit stall. This is one of those tracks where there's this goofy little thing at the beginning of pit row when you first come on, where there's like 2 or 3 stalls down there that kind of by themselves. And I think they really like that over there. We've seen them choose that a couple times when they've had the choice. So just things like that, where it makes it a little easier on the pit crew, because it's going to be, 10, 12, pit stops, tire wear, and just, pitting before you're out of fuel because tires are gone. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun night, I think, more than anything else. I love it when it goes, the sun goes down, they get a little more grip, and but yet when the tires wear out, they lose that grip, and those guys running down there in 3 and 4 up against the wall, a foot away from it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful night. So I can't wait for Saturday night already. This is a good way to start the playoffs, obviously, on a win, and get that momentum going. Let's win a race in every round through the playoffs. Let's really put a cap on this thing, because the next 3 races are all tracks that Ryan a W here. Gateway with what happened there, and at Bristol itself, he is really good at Bristol, and they've had a pole at Bristol in the last year or two. So these next couple of weeks, let's just put it together, put 3 races together.
And you bring up qualifying, and they haven't won a pole there since 2021, but the qualifying efforts have been pretty decent, where I would say like a decent starting positions for them to get stage points and set up themselves for wins a little bit later on. So going back to the debut of the next gen car, they've qualified 7th, 9th, 11th, 4th, 17th in the first race of 2024. That was the outlier. And 7th and then 9th. So a majority of those in the next gen car have all been in the top 10, just 2 of them outside of the top 10. So look for them to qualify, I would say, in the top 10 to top 15. I'll be okay with that. Yeah. I would also say look for this to be another classic long run car for Ryan. And if they can get those long runs like they did in the spring, they're going to have an opportunity to win this race. And I'm looking forward to it. So again, if you want to tune in this weekend for the racing at Darlington Raceway for the NASCAR Cup Series, 9 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, August 30th is when practice starts on True TV. 10 a.m. Eastern time, you have qualifying. Sunday, August 31st for the Cookout Southern 500 from Darlington, 6 p.m. Eastern time, streaming on the NBC Sports app, on cable, on the USA Network. HBO Max for those that have the package to watch the in-car cameras, MRN, SiriusXM, NASCAR radio on the radio. Well, Steve, that was an action-packed episode of episode 201 of the Team Blaney podcast. Thanks again to crew chief Jonathan Hassler for joining us to talk a little bit about their win in the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona and set up the 12 teams run through the playoffs here in 2025. So I want to thank you and everyone once again for tuning in to this episode of the Team Blaney podcast during the week and on race day. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for Team Blaney. You can also watch the podcast live on YouTube and Facebook on Monday nights and download the audio version of it and listen to it in your car ride during the week. On all of your favorite podcast platforms. We'd also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So for my co-host Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Good night, Ocala. Check out the TikTok.